Hey kids, welcome to Unit 7, Lesson 4, Private Methods, Exercise 6. We're going to go ahead and do D video games today. Most of the answers are pretty similar, so hopefully this one will help you with some of the others. Let's see what we have to code. A video game wants to implement a system that recommends character classes based on the user play style. We're going to write a private method, filter by play style, in the character class with two string parameters for play style. Then we're going to write the public method, get recommended characters, in the character class that calls the filter by playstyle method to get a list of recommended characters and draw the image and character of each class on the screen. Finally, we have to come over here and then call the method. That's not too bad. Let's go ahead and take a look at character scene. We're going to be working with an array list, just to note that. We have a instance variable of characters reference over here. This is the class and the image. It looks like we can get the image, get the character class, and down here we have our constructor, and we have a get character. Down here I have to write our private and public method. So this method is going to loop through above array list, and if character style 1 or 2 matches, it's going to print them off. And the character styles we're talking about are just these right here: adventurer, warrior, soldier, so on and so on. So if we put 2 of these in, we should add these 2 characters based off of them. So if I want an adventurer, we should get Zelda. And then if I want a princess, I'd get Princess Peach. What's that look like? Well, this is going to be a helper method. They want this to be private. Now for the data type. Over here, you can see we have an array list character. Up here, that is our data type, array list character. We're going to keep the same one for this. So this is going to be an array list, and this is going to become a character. And this one is going to be called filter by playstyle. So filter by play style. That took a little doing. And we need 2 parameters in here, and those are going to be the styles. And those are just strings. That means the first one is going to be string. We'll call this play style 1. And then we'll do another string, play style 2. Now, as always, if we're going through a list, we need to create our own list in order to store stuff. Remember, original lists are immutable. We want to return a list with just these 2 characters in them. Let's create our own list. So we'll go array list. This is a character. We'll call this filtered list. And this is going to equal a new array list. And then we have our character. Do not forget your parentheses at the end and a semicolon. That's what we're going to add to. Now let's go through the actual original list. That means we need a for loop. This is going to be int I equal 0 as long as I is less than. And what do we want to go through here? If we go up here, you can see it's called characters. So we'll go through characters. We're back to an array from the last one. So this is size. And then we're going to go I plus plus. I need to create a variable that's going to store each character at that index. So I'm going to call it character, and we'll call this character again. And this is just going to be equal to whatever that characters is. And we're just going to get that index. So whatever that index is, that'll store our character as we go through. You can also write this a lot simpler with an enhanced for loop. Now, as we go through, we want to see if the character matches the one on the list. So that means we're going to need an if statement. And we just have to get each character. And if we go up here, over here, we can get each class of the character with this get method. So I can write something like, from that character I just created, and I see my spelling error there, kids, don't worry. We're going to get character class, and we want to see, hey, does that equals play style 1? We want to see if that equals the first one, or we're going to do the same thing. The character get character class, and I see my misspelling there, kids. We're going to see the that dot equals the play style 2. Should end up with 2 parentheses. Oops. Looks like we need one more. That looks pretty good. Let's go fix our spelling error over here. And class needs to be respelled. Now, if what we're passing along equals one of the characters in a list, we want to add it to that array we just created. So filtered list, we're going to add the character. Didn't do too good of a job naming these. This is my if. This is going to be my for. Now we do want to return that filtered list at the end, so we need to do filtered list, because when we create a list, we got to return it. And then the last one should be our end of method. So all we did here, we created a new method called filter by playstyle. It's private, can only be accessed within this class. It takes 2 parameters. That's the playstyle from the theater runner. I'm creating a new list to store each one that matches. I'm going to loop through that entire list from the other page. And if one of the passed along styles equals the style there, we're going to add it to the list. At the end, we're going to return that list. That's part 1. Part 2, well, we got to draw it, and we haven't done that for quite a while. So over here, we have to write the public method get recommended characters to call the filter playstyle. So this is where we're actually going to get those 2 parameters passed along. And then we're going to draw each character's image in character class in the scene. So we're going to call that get image and get character class again. Let's code this like the other one. First, this is going to be public. We're not going to be returning, so we're going to put a void. This is called, well, let's just copy this, kids. Get recommended characters. It needs 2 parameters, and that's what I'm going to pass along above. So we're going to go string play style 1 and string play style 2. Much like above, we need to create a list to store whatever those 2 styles are. So we're going to create an array list. Same as above, it's of the character data type. We'll call this one recommended. And this is going to be equal to this method up here, filter by playstyle. So we're going to copy that. And then we're going to pass along, you guessed it, play style 1 and play style 2. So that's going to be stored in recommended. Now we're going to loop around to see how many of those characters were actually there. If there is only 1, we want to draw 1. If there's 2, we want to draw 2. So that means we need a for loop. This is going to be my for loop. And we're going to go int I equal 0 as long as I is less than. And we want to go through this list right here from above, the recommend. And we just want to get whatever that size is because it's an array list. And we're going to go I++. Let's make sure it's spelled right. It is. And then we have to store each of those characters at the index, just like above. So I'm going to go at character. Again, you could do this a lot easier with an enhanced for loop, but I like writing it out because I'm old. So now that I got stored each of those indexes of that character, I can actually draw it. How do we draw it? Remember our old friend, draw image. Draw image needed 4 things: the image, the location, and then the scale. So we are going to use the get image for this character right here. So whatever character is at that index, so I'm going to get image, it's going to go to the 0, 0 position, and the overall scale will just get the width that we currently have. They also want us to put the text. We need our old friend draw text. Again, same thing. We're going to go from the character. And this time, we're not going to go get image. Ooh, get image is a method. That means we need parentheses. We need to get that character class. Let's just go ahead and copy that so we don't misspell it. So we're going to call that get character class. Then we're just going to do a little space here. Now we need an X coordinate and a Y coordinate. After that, we just want to pause for a second. Let's actually make it 3. We can admire our art. And then we're going to clear. And if there is another image, we're going to display it. If not, our loop is done, and that's it. Should end up with 2 curly cues and our end of class. And there you go. So our get recommended characters are going to take the playstyle 1 and 2. It's going to pass along those 2 playstyles to above. I see my error there, 2 kids. Should be playstyle 1, playstyle 2. So recommended is going to run the above private method. It's going to see if those equal any of those. If it does, it's going to store it in this array list. I'm going to loop around this array list and print off any images I have. I could, if I wanted to, set this to 3, 4, 5 parameters, and I could keep updating this or scaling up on this however I wanted. And as I loop around, I'm going to store each character at index. Then I'm going to draw it by getting the image, and then the class, wait a second, and then clear it. Well, we're not done yet. We still have to go over to Theater Runner. And over here, we have to call the get recommendation characters. Let's go ahead and just copy this so we don't misspell it. And from the scene object, we're going to call get recommended characters. And over here, we're going to call from the style, I like adventurer. Make sure we get those parentheses in there. And then I'll probably do a survivor. So let's do adventurer. And we'll come up here. Make sure we spell this right, kids. We'll get a survivor. I think that's The Last of Us. We'll see how well my knowledge is with video games. Probably a lot better than my spelling. When I hit run, and then we fix our spelling errors, we should get the adventurer character, which is Zelda, to pop up, and then Ellie to pop up. Well, let's see how we did. Well, let's see what's going on here. Can't find symbol. Let's go over. It looks like we have style spelled wrong here. It's T-Y-L-E. Let's make sure that's spelled right. That's spelled right. Let's clear our console. Let's try again. And there you go. It ran just like we thought. And we only had one spelling error, kids. Hopefully this video helped you better understand how private methods work within a class. As always, kids, if you have any questions, come see me. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next video. See you later, kids. Bye, bye, bye.